Okay, so moving on, the next item on the agenda was an update on the FIDE CAS lawsuit, which we were involved in a couple of years ago during the election. The FIDE had made a decision, and it was all finalized and closed, and then FIDE went back to CAS and appealed. That appeal has been pending for some time, and we've been expecting a decision for 6 months. And so we have no update on that. Gary, did you have anything?
No, there's no.
What was the gist of the dispute? Can you encapsulate what it's about?
We were supporting the wrong candidate
No,
for world president.
The current appeal is FIDE going back in to ask to recoup more of its funds that it expended in defending the lawsuit, or I should say the arbitration. They weren't happy with the arbitrator's gift to them of X Swiss francs, so they went back in to collect the remainder of their attorney's fees, and that's what's been in front of the panel now. They took that to a Swiss court, and the Swiss court declined to review it, but rather said that goes back to the arbitration panel, and they need to look at this. There was one small procedural glitch. I don't even remember what it was at this point, but it had to do with getting a full hearing in front of the arbitration panel. And
Was that an impact on USCF finances somewhere?
indirectly, please remember that we entered into agreements with both White & Case, a preeminent international law firm, and with Karpov's political campaign, that we would bear no expense with respect to this litigation, this arbitration, I should say accurately, that White & Case would represent us pro bono throughout. They have been golden and good to their word, and that should any penalty be assessed against the USCF, the arbitrators or the Swiss courts, that the Karpov campaign would pay those expenses in full. And again, there's no reason for us to believe at this point that anything other than that will happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is this connected with that in the Olympiad, no referees are going to be allowed in the United States and smaller countries?
Yes, you're
And what is
talking
the
about
situation?
Annex 60, and the Turkish Federation has proposed that the federations, the 5 federations who were involved in that action, not only the arbiters, which they currently aren't engaging to work at the Olympiad, but they've also put a proposal forth, which we'll discuss in the international meeting, that the federations be suspended until full restitution of the legal costs spent by FIDE in those matters is made. And that's on the FIDE agenda, and it has been objected to by multiple federations. So if you want to talk more about that, come to the international meeting.
Well, I mean, we're still going to the Olympiad in Turkey?
Yes, we are. We're
But this
registered
thing-
and we're going to it, and that's the last item on the FIDE agenda at the General Assembly.
But it could be, we could be not allowed to come?
No.
And we would already be there.
We're already there. There is a proposal by the Turkish Chess Federation to suspend the federations involved in the lawsuit until they pay reparations for the lawsuit and make FIDE whole.
This will come up at the end of the Olympics, at the end of the meeting in
Also, they will play,
Istanbul.
and it'll be the next one.
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
be.
Yes, and from a legal perspective, please understand that it's nothing short of outrageous. That legal issue is in front of the courts as we speak, and now there's this secondary non-legal action that is attempting to inflict pain on us for the same thing. I have every reason to believe that it will go nowhere. It's extremely risky behavior on FIDE's part.
And the 5 other major countries in the world that we are affiliated with.
I believe the others were Switzerland, France, Germany, and Ukraine.
That's Great Britain.
So,
Is there any indication that a new Sunday meeting.
For the Sunday meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, Sunday.
Put that on there for the Sunday.
Okay.
There is that PM 1158 on the agenda that is referred to the executive board, or move that the executive board pass the rules committee to study an issue, and presumably there'll be some report to the delegates on that at the delegates meeting. It's on page 19 of the delegates. Page 19 of PM 1158. This is a Camerata motion about modifying the rules of chess, the plan for more sophisticated and powerful handheld devices. It said be it moved that the executive board pass the rules committee and others that might need to be involved to study the issue and report back to the executive board that they review and report their findings and recommendations to the delegates to the 2012 U.S. Open in Vancouver. So someone should be reporting to the delegates when that comes up.
Okay, thank you, Harold.
That was not, that was overlooked by the Rules Committee unintentionally. I didn't remember it, and wasn't reminded about it, so.
We actually discussed that an hour ago in closed session.
Okay.
Okay, well, we haven't finished that discussion yet, so,
So it'll be tabled for next year, I guess.
okay, thank you for the update. Is there any other business before we move on to the votes?
No, I was gonna say we got some votes.
No? Okay, the May 2012 Executive Board meeting minutes were approved by email, and as Ken pointed out earlier, we need to provide the minutes, and that's on my list of action items right now. We approve the best of them.
And there are also, those minutes are not posted on the website, so they need up there as well. The audio files are posted on the website, the minutes are not.
I believe the motions should be on
The motions are.
Okay, next item on the agenda,
I think the minutes are actually available in the info system, we could forward to them.
But they're not posted on.
Yeah, but they're not posted on the website.
They're not posted either, that's a good point.
anything else on the
They are in the
minutes?
info system.
Okay. Mike Neatman, the World Youth votes?
Okay, just a moment, I passed around a sign-up sheet, is that gone around?
Right here.
Okay, that's fine. If anybody hasn't signed the sign-up sheet, Joe has it up here.
It's not in this one.
Okay, thank you. All right, these are three motions, actually, there's gonna be four motions, although I don't have the wording, if Gary is working on the wording on the floor.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
that.
okay. All right, so there'd be four motions from closed session. The first three deal with qualifications for the 2012 World Youth. I'll read each one and then we have to vote to understand. First motion is Bill Hall moves that the USCF Executive Board rescinds the 30 rated game requirement for first place finishers from national events to qualify for World Youth as defined in the World Youth Invitational requirements. This is effective immediately and to be in place for all players eligible for the 2012 World Youth.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
You haven't called the no vote?
You have to call the no vote.
All opposed?
No.
Okay.
You need to give the third option.
And abstain.
I wasn't able to participate in the discussion and I should abstain.
So that's a 5-1 vote with me voting in favor. Okay.
Actually, you don't vote unless it affects the voting.
No.
You just have a tie breaker.
Yeah.
I can vote last. Okay. Next.
Okay, number two, Bill Hall moves that the USCF Executive Board rules that under current established invitational requirements for World Youth, Christian Sarna is eligible for qualification for 2012 World Youth.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed?
No.
No.
Abstain?
I wasn't able to participate in the discussion, so I should abstain from the vote.
Okay, so that vote is 4 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 abstention, and it passes.
It's a pretty unified board, you can tell.
moves that the USCF Executive Board rules that under current established invitational requirements for World Youth, Nicholas Cheka is eligible for qualification for the 2012 World Youth.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All opposed?
No.
Abstain?
Same reason.
Okay. Motion passes 5 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention.
Correct.
Okay, Gary?
And for the benefit of our participants here this morning, I need to give just a very brief background on this motion that's about to be made. In the Scholastics workshop, we discussed a problem with an electronic notating device. It was being used on a handheld device, not a standalone, but this was an application that applied to a mini computer in essence. The player was found using that device during a game, and the ethics committee ruled on that and sanctioned the player with, I believe it was 90 days of suspension and 6 months of probation. And now, with respect to that, we reviewed it this morning, as the executive board does all sanctions from the ethics committee, and I'm moving as follows. The USCF executive board concurs with the decision of the ethics committee in the case of member Clark Smiley. However, the executive board revises the member's sanction to include a suspension from USCF play for a period of 2 years.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed?
I have to recuse.
Recused? Okay. Abstention? Okay, so 6. 6-0. Yeah.
601.
601. Motion passes.
Gary, can I have the writing on that, please?
Yes.
Okay, that's the end of the business. Are there any questions from the audience?
Just ask about electronic devices. Just in general, I mean, I go to a lot of tournaments. There's so many people walking around with wires coming out of their ears. And you go out in the hall and everybody's camped out with laptops, and people that are using the restroom have to pass through these people. And is there any concern about controlling that?
There's deep concern, and we had a spirited discussion just this morning while reviewing the case that you just heard us move on. We wanted to postpone further discussion and the potential rulemaking on that issue until we had a chance to confer further this week with our rules people who are handy to us here to not get them involved in discussing the issues. We intend to pick this issue back up very seriously in our Sunday evening session.
The other point is that this was discussed at considerable length in the Scholastic meeting as well on the same issues. I'm not sure they came to any hard conclusions on that because I had to leave for another meeting before they finished the discussion. But I know that was a topic of considerable interest. Just as an understanding that the issue really is multifold. We have 2 approved devices used, the 2 approved devices for notation, for electronic score sheets. One is the Monroy device, the other is eNotate, which runs on a Dell platform. And the Dell platform can be used for other things. It's a device, it is an application running on a platform that has many other applications for it. I think is that fair, Savat?
The correct way of saying it is that the device is not the authorized. The software is authorized.
There we go.
It can run on any of the platforms that will support it, but it only supports one platform.
So it's an application which is platform independent, and the platform that it's on could be able to run other things. That's one issue. The other issue is just the proliferation of other electronic devices and people wearing headsets at the board and Scholastic events, the parents sit in the back of the room, and now the phone is a camera and a computer and everything else, and regulation of that. So you've got kind of a multifold issue there.
that is not going to get simpler. It's going to get more complicated because the devices get smaller and smaller and more powerful. So I think it's a problem that we're going to be dealing with for some time. And my opinion is we're going to have to get the rules people involved very heavily, and because the technology is going to do nothing but continue to advance, and it's going to be an ongoing challenge.
Also, the venues are not set up for the modern times. I mean, you've got the bathroom that down the hall that you have to walk through all this area, which the maid is cleaning when you want to use it, and you got to, should you go to another floor and risk being forfeited or what? I mean, the hotels are not set up for.
One of the solutions the executive board is looking at is disallowing bathroom breaks during games, passing out catheters at the beginning of each round.
Under no circumstances should we talk to the bathroom.
Like was stated,
I'm not considering that one, Jim. I'll have to dissent on that.
It could be helpful in Cyprus.
like was stated, that the problems are multiple, and how to control those problems are multiple.
Yeah.
What tournament directors need to do is be aware of the possibilities and treat them on an individual basis when they occur. FIDE has a very simple rule that says all electronic devices are banned, other than approved scoring devices and clocks, are banned from the playing hall. Okay, and we tried to pass that a couple of years ago, and it was watered down terrifically by the delegates. Maybe it's time to revisit that. But yes, we need to address that issue with the board, with the executive board, and the rules committee, and that's going to be one of the first things on our agenda to do. So it's a very severe issue. The issue about walking through the place, through places where people have their computers to get to the bathroom or for any other significant break, I think also can be dealt with observation of what's going on during the event. It might require a few additional people to help us to do that, but I think we could probably find volunteers that would assist in that area. But the biggest concern is, like you said, headphones at the board during a game. Well, I don't think those should be allowed, period. So that would certainly help the situation of the opportunity for cheating. Okay.
I don't think the headphones are the biggest concern.
It's not the biggest concern.
The biggest concern is what the player does in the bathroom when nobody's looking.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you can see the headphones. If the player has a suspiciously good result, the director can just say, no, take the one.
But carrying his pocket PC into the restroom and analyzing the game while he's there.
The restroom is the biggest problem, and I think we're probably going to get to the point pretty soon where certain types of tournaments, with a lot of money or important titles at stake, may just have to say, if you have a cell phone, here's somebody sitting there like they do in St. Louis, checking at the doors, no cell phones are allowed in the tournament room, and we're just going to stop you from bringing it into the tournament room. And we haven't got to that point yet in the tournaments I run. I mean, I'm happy to say that the majority of, well, I shouldn't say the majority, but I would say, I don't know why this is, but at least 50% of the time that somebody says, my opponent is doing something suspicious, I think he's getting computer help. I check that player's score and he has a minus score. And I immediately become not suspicious. But I'm afraid in a few years when I check that score, I'm going to start finding those people have very good scores.
find some that do, but
Yeah, I mean, there are now, but still, if half the complaints are about people playing scores, that would tend to indicate that there's not much shooting going on at that time, but I'm afraid there will be.
yeah, there was a complaint in one of my tournaments where a person was accused of cheating when he had a 0 score out of 5 rounds.
Better get better at cheating.
He's cheating, I want to play against him.
Well, I think we all recognize too that different types of tournaments have different issues in
Yeah.
this regard. You know, tournaments with large cash prizes have a different incentive. This is the auditor in me talk than the local club tournament. And, the national scholastic events have a whole nother dynamic, which is, parents and the desire of parents to be able to locate their children fairly quickly, and the need sometimes for the tournament staff to be able to locate a parent quickly. There was a circumstance recently where a kid had a seizure on the floor of the national tournament, and one of his teammates came up and said, I've got my cell phone, do you want me to call his parents? It's like, oh God, yes, right now. So there.
You're out of the tournament, you turn it on.
Yeah. Well, that was Hoffpower's suggestion, but no, I don't think it worked that way. But there's a whole customer service thing too with the parents at a national scholastic that comes into play. And if you've ever walked the back of one of those rooms, like I have been, charged with the task of asking people to turn their stuff off or get out of the room, it's a daunting task, and they don't comprehend necessarily why you think they ought to do that. And why it's a problem. I'm just going to go take a picture. Yeah, but it's on your cell phone, which has a computer built into it. And sometimes when you explain it to them, it's like, oh, people would do that? Oh yeah, people would do that. So, and then you get their cooperation. But it's an ongoing battle at those events. It's a different battle than what you might expect.
Madam President, are we in adjournment?
No, we're not, we're taking questions, but you can leave if you need to.
I have a game, 15 minutes.
Okay.
And in addressing.
Got a cell phone over?
We'll see you later. We can adjourn the meeting and continue taking questions.
Absolutely. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention one thing that Frank mentioned on the two that we'll
I
do.
gotta go put my catheter in.
Have fun with that, Jim.
I move that Jim Barry be the official catheter administrator of the United States Chess Federation.
We'll have a meeting at 3 o'clock.
Okay, it's time to adjourn.
I just wanted to, sure, then my computer turns off. On the two world youth, I forgot to mention one thing too, that we wanted to refer to the Scholastic Council, I just want to get this on the record, to discuss improvements in the world youth regulations describing, or regarding private events, and also regarding events that achieve the rating of